is the limitless Keith Lee.
This is Brody King.
This is Angel Garza.
Will Ospreay.
Hornswoggle.
Pentagon Jr.
The villain, Marty Skell.
The Mexican Ray Phoenix.
King Ricochet.
Concrete Rose, Sunny Kiss.
And I'm here to ask you to stop what you're doing, take just one moment, and bask in the glory of the Busted Wide Open.
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 Boston Wide Open.
Busted Wide Open podcast.
You're listening to the Busted Wide Open podcast, dropping the elbow on the hottest topics in sports entertainment and the world of professional wrestling. With your hosts, Nick Howell and Sir Ian Dangerous. Coming to you from the Orbital Jigsaw Network Arena in sunny Southern California. Welcome, patrons, to your September 2020 bonus episode, coming to you from Twitch. Yes, we are live streaming the bonus episode, so if you're not a patron, you can sneak in, get a sneak peek, but it's coming down right afterwards. My name is Nick Howell.
And I am Sir Ian Dangerous. Yes, and welcome to the show on this bonus episode because it is September, which is slightly late for this.
It's usually done by now.
Yeah, we're going to be previewing the G1. What is the G1, you may ask? It's the Grade 1 tournament that takes place every year over in New Japan. And maybe you're coming to our show right now, our lovely patrons, and going, yeah, I can't wait to hear everything you guys have to say about the G1. Or maybe you're one of our patrons that's never watched New Japan, never had the time, never really been into it, never just crossed that threshold, if you will. And you're wondering what the heck the G1 is and why are we talking about it on this bonus episode that you were so generously threw your money at us for. Well, here's the thing. This is actually going to be a bit of a primer on New Japan as well, because we here at Busted Wide Open believe the G1 is actually the best entry point into New Japan you could possibly get.
It's the gateway drug. It's
the gateway.
It's the marijuana to the heroin that is New Japan Pro Wrestling. Wait,
wow.
No,
I
that
would
didn't come
never
from.
have
I'm sorry.
compared it
I take that
way.
back. That is not the way I... Okay. Yes.
No, don't do that. How do we know it's that? Because, well, we've got proof. That's how we got Nick into New Japan, was making him watch the G1, and next thing we knew, he was a New Japan addict. So, yeah. And here's the thing. It's not just that it's good to get into New Japan through the G1. It's also that if you like good wrestling, the G1 is literally the best place to see the most good wrestling in a short period of time that you're going to see ever, all year. In the last few years alone, there have been some G1 matches that are considered among the all-time greatest matches of all time.
Yeah, just in the last 3 years.
Just in the last few years. And looking at the blocks for this year, we might be seeing it again. It's looking stacked as hell this year. I'm so excited for this. I even left Dog Ziggler out, so he's roaming around the house. He might get involved in this. It's going to be a crazy episode today. But again, if you don't know anything about New Japan, we're going to try and give you a little bit of an entry level into it here, tell you who the participants are, tell you kind of what's going on in New Japan right now to get you set up for this. It does start this weekend, Saturday night, and then it runs all the way through October. There's a ton of wrestling. There's a ton of shows. If you decide to watch every single one of them, you may burn out. You may go insane, as we sometimes do on this show. But if you find someone that you like, you can dip in once you know the schedule and watch their matches, pick up a bunch. It's fun to just dip in throughout the month-long tournament as well and watch some of the better stuff going on, keep abreast of it. It's just fun all around.
Yep. Well, I have a present very apropos to what you were just saying. I have gone through on the official Busted Wide Open Google Calendar that is publicly available to everyone. I have populated that calendar with every single event and starting time throughout the G1 Climax 30 that is going to be happening for the next month, 6 weeks or so.
And New Japan, actually, if you go to New Japan World 1972 or whatever, the New Japan website.
Their website's terrible.
But they do have a Google Calendar there, and I can link it in the Facebook group. And you can just add that calendar to your calendar and tells you when to start.
That's what I'm talking about. We have one for BWO.
Oh, okay. Did you just copy theirs?
You don't need to bother with the New Japan one. But
Then never mind. Nick
yeah,
got it already.
I got you. Plus all the other stuff that happens throughout every single week. It's all on the Google Calendar. I'll throw that in the chat real quick.
Dude.
This is why I do this every day. I can do this with my eyes closed. So it's all good stuff. Yeah. I'll throw a link into the notes for the calendar.
Well, fantastic. But that is what we're doing today, and I'm very excited to talk about it because, as we said, Nick, you've got some of the greatest wrestlers in the world, and that is inarguable. I don't think anyone's going to say that some of these wrestlers are the best wrestlers in the world, no matter what company you're a fan of. Like they'll admit these are the best, and they're being given like, hey, go out and have half an hour matches or more with others of the greatest wrestlers in the world. Hey, just have fun.
Yeah.
For the next month. So it's going to be banana, as Pat Patterson would say. So I'm looking forward to getting into all this. And actually, it's just a kind of funny note. As I was looking through all this stuff, it's the 30th year of G1. And I mean, technically, it's hard to call it that because New Japan's kind of squirrely about how the G1 actually started, but calling it G1 started about 30 years. This will be the 30th one that they've done. But I looked at 10 years ago, and there's some names you might recognize in the G1 from 10 years ago. Yeah. And if you're not a fan of New Japan, this is interesting. So the 10-year ago G1 was Hiroshi Tanahashi, Togi Makabe, Manabu Nakanishi, who retired this year,
right.
Toru Yano, Prince Devitt, who you might know better as Finn Balor, Tetsuya Naito, Strong Man, who you probably don't really know unless you watch CMLL, and Carl Anderson from the Good Brothers, from the OC. And on Block B, you had Satoshi Kojima, who would go on to win the whole thing, crazily enough. Shinsuke Nakamura, Go Shiozaki, Hiroki Goto, who we'll talk about a lot today. Yuji Nagata, who's not in it this year, and he's bummed about it.
Yeah.
Bread Club for life. Giant Bernard, who you might know better as Matt Bloom, A-Train, Prince Albert. He's now working in the PC as one of the head trainers down in the PC. He pretty much runs the Performance Center in NXT. Yujiro Takahashi, who is making a return to the G1 this year, and Wataru Inoue. So it's kind of crazy to see where some of those people ended up, where they still are today in New Japan, where they are in the rest of the world. It's and if you go see the actual graphics, they're all such babies. They're all such babies.
Right, and it's crazy for me to think about the number of people from throughout the last 10 years that have come through New Japan and are now known names universally, almost celebrity level.
Yeah.
Between the people that we know and love today that we watch every single week. Young
Well,
Bucks,
and being
Kenny
in the
Omega,
G1
Finn Balor,
yeah.
Adam Cole, just rattle them off endlessly.
And it's funny because some of those guys
AJ
weren't in the G1.
right?
Styles was in it. Yeah, but that's the thing is if you go back and look at the rosters of who was in the G1, there's a lot of people like that's a proving ground because it is a month of intense wrestling. Sometimes 3 times a week. And you got to go out there and put on amazing matches. So it is a proving ground. And for some people, it can be a massive stepping stone. You look at Lance Archer, who was in it last year, and it made him. It absolutely took him from being like a mainstay in Japan to being known worldwide after 20 years in the business, give or take.
He would not be.
He went through everywhere.
He would not be in AEW today if it were not for that opening night match with Will Ospreay last year in the G1.
Which we'll talk about.
I'll fight anybody on that.
I can't wait to talk about Will Ospreay. But Nick, let's get into this. Let's talk about what the G1 is. This is the segment for everyone who does not know about New Japan. Let's quickly set that up for all of them so y'all know what we're talking about on the show and y'all know what you're in for if you're interested in watching this awesome show.
Let me do a couple of quick call-outs real quick. We had some subs come in. Jacob with the Tier 1 sub for 2 months. Thank you very much. Welcome back.
Very much.
Mr. Divian with the 2 months, Tier 1. Thank you very much, you guys, for renewing the subs. Divian says beginning month 2, riding in the trunk of Sue's car.
Yeah. It's a minivan.
We'll save
so
that one for Saturday.
It's comfy back there.
Yeah. All right, go ahead. We're caught up.
She has cookies.
Yes, she does.
So the G1 is a tournament. It originally was a bracket tournament, but now it is a round-robin tournament, meaning that you've got 2 blocks of 10 guys, and they all face each other over this next month. Everyone has to face everyone once. Every time you win, you get a point. If you lose, you get no points. If you tie, you both get a point. But the thing is, at the end of the whole thing, if whoever ties you get the winner. Excuse me. If you tie, actually, I have to go refresh myself on what the thing is for tie, because it almost never happens. Yeah. Matches almost never go to draws in the G1, so I'm actually gonna have to refresh myself.
Which is why the match last year with Sonata and Okada was such a drama fest.
Yes,
because it ran right down to the wire. So and who would have seen some of the outcomes that we saw last year? But keep going. I think there's some things I want to hit on from last year as well, before we get too deep into this year.
Yeah. So because that's the thing, is it's about how many you have to obviously win points in this to win the whole thing. Whoever has the most points in each block goes on to the finals. The winner of the finals then gets to challenge the current IWGP Heavyweight Champion at Wrestle Kingdom, the beginning of January in the Tokyo Dome, which is considered one of the most prestigious matches in wrestling. Yep. Main eventing Tokyo Dome, Wrestle Kingdom. That's more prestigious to some people than WrestleMania. Purists, we'll call them. But so it's a big deal to win the G1, and it's held by only a certain level of people. In fact, an interesting statistic. People who have won the G1, every single one of them, with only 2 exceptions, have gone on to become IWGP Heavyweight Champions. In the 30 years of G1s, only 2 people have not gone on to become IWGP Heavyweight Champion, and one of them was the winner from 2018. That was Kota Ibushi. Excuse me, 2019. Last year he won. And he has not yet become IWGP champion. He was not IWGP champion before IWGP. That's going to be a tough one to get through. But that's the thing, is Kota Ibushi was just last year. Hiroki Goto, he's won it twice. He was in the finals once. He's won it once in 2008. He's been in the finals in 2008 and 2016, excuse me. He's never been champion. And he's kind of known around New Japan as being like the guy who just never got his shot. He was never right place, right time. So, it is 2 points for a victory, 1 point for a draw,
That's
0 points for a loss.
Yeah,
excuse me. I just had to clarify that for everybody. Now, there's other factors as well. If during the G1, because in the G1, one of the cool aspects of it is champions compete. In this year's G1, you have the IWGP Heavyweight Champion, Tetsuya Naito, competing. And if someone beats him during the tournament, they automatically get a shot at his title while he holds it.
And it's not just the heavyweight champ. That includes the U.S. title. That includes doesn't it include Rev Pro as well?
The Rev Pro title,
I feel like that's all titles.
Yes, I'm actually not sure who the Rev Pro champ is right now. Let me check real quick. But I don't know that it guarantees a Rev Pro championship fight, but I believe it does. I do know that the Never Openweight Championship is in play. Minoru Suzuki's the current champion. He's in the tournament. So if you beat him, you get a shot at the Never Championship. And also, both the tag champs, Zack Sabre Jr. and Taichi, are both in this. So I believe that will give you a tag title shot. And I believe those are all the titles that are in play. Let me look. I'm looking down right now. The U.S. title is not in play because currently it's being held by one Jon Moxley,
right,
who has not been able to compete in Japan. However,
it's Ospreay.
Kenta
Ospreay is what we're calling him.
We'll talk about him. Kenta currently holds the right to challenge for the U.S. Championship. He just beat Jeff Cobb this last week to retain that in a scurrilous match. Scurrilous, I tell you. So he's got that. So I believe you could challenge him for the right to challenge for the U.S. Championship if you beat Kenta. And I have a feeling a few people will.
Mm-hmm.
But yes. So that is currently the standings. That's one more interesting aspect of the G1 is that if you beat a champ, then now that creates new storylines going forward. So yeah, there's one thing I want to say before we start getting into the blocks and telling you all about the story and the participants and everything else. If you're going to get started with New Japan for the first time, a warning. Usually they do have live English commentary. Unfortunately, their English commentary team is not able to be in Japan live at this time. They're based in America. Well, Gino Gambino, I believe, is in Australia. But he might be in America. But Kevin Kelly, I know for 100% is in America. Some of these are going on, 3 a.m. our time. And Kevin Kelly he's not going to do a whole month of being up. Graveyard shift to try to call it live. They might get it worked out for the finals or like the last night. Like he might be able to pull off 2 nights of it, but I don't see him doing the whole G1. That being said, he usually is very good about getting it up very quickly afterwards. So if you can keep yourself from spoilers, you can watch the English commentary a couple of days after it regularly airs. And if you don't mind Japanese commentary, obviously you're fine.
Yeah, usually I'm on the weekends when they're on Friday nights or Saturday nights. I can stay up or I can take a nap and get back up at 3:00 in the morning. But yeah, it's usually I'm catching up a day or two late, which actually worked out for during the New Japan Cup when we had the English commentary coming in late earlier this summer. Real quick, Brian gifted a tier 1 sub to Haley Nicole. Haley,
nice.
make sure you thank Brian for the gifted sub. Thank you very much, Brian, for that gifted sub to Haley. So for
and
me,
then, yes, you're right. Will Ospreay is the Rev Pro champ.
Correct.
I don't know if his title will be on the line.
I anticipate we had a little bit of shenaniganry between him and Zack Sabre earlier this year. I'm wondering if that's going to carry over into the G1 or if that's going to be revived in some way.
Over the Rev Pro title specifically.
Yes.
So I doubt that it will be carried over into the actual G1, seeing as they're in different brackets. So the different blocks.
That's a good point.
So I doubt it. But speaking of Will Ospreay, let's talk about everyone who's involved in the G1 this year. Let's run them down by block. We've got 2 blocks, Block A and Block B. Topping off Block A, a guy that if you watch WWE, you may have come across, Kota Ibushi. If you watch the Cruiserweight Classic, the initial one, he's the guy that Cedric Alexander had the match with that basically got Cedric hired because the match was so damn good. And that's just what Kota Ibushi does, is put on good matches. He won the G1 last year. He main evented the Tokyo Dome this year at Wrestle Kingdom. He was on the first of 2 nights. He'd fought the champion at the time, Kazuchika Okada, and lost. But that was in the running for one of the best matches of the year, and it was on the 4th day of the year.
Right.
So
we had
the
3
guy
match of the year contenders at that show.
Yeah, he's ridiculous. When Kenny Omega from AEW was in New Japan, they had a long-running storyline where they were lovers / tag team partners / best friends / ambiguously gay duo, and it was awesome. It was an awesome storyline in certain aspects of it. Not the Bullet Club Civil War stuff. That was weird, but their storyline was awesome. Kota Ibushi's now gone singles, and New Japan loves him, and that's worth noting.
Signed a massive contract last year right before the G1, too.
Yes. And that's the thing. He's now saying, I'm sticking with New Japan. He's been kind of a freelancer for a long time. Has just been doing his own thing. He's a guy who just wants to do what he wants to do. And he sounds like he's finally settled down and is committed to New Japan, which I think if New Japan is smart, they'll strap him. Again, like I said earlier, winners of the G1 get strapped. It's only been a year, but people are already saying it could happen at any time. Ibushi gets strapped as the champion. He's just that good. He also
I called him to win the triple threat at Wrestle Kingdom earlier this year. And the way that it worked out didn't go in that way. So I have a lot to say about that. We'll get to that.
Right. I wonder, should we have called Kota Ibushi and Kenny Omega the ambiguously gay Jin duo? I don't know.
Okay.
Never mind. All right. So Kota Ibushi's fantastic is what I'm trying to tell you. He also, a cool aspect to his character he's been doing lately, where he's actually been tagging with Hiroshi Tanahashi, but for some reason Tanahashi's just been broken down and he can't win. And even though Ibushi does everything he can, Tanahashi's just the weak link. But Ibushi's been going into this, I don't know what you call it, like a fugue state, demon Ibushi state, where he'll just go completely blank and start annihilating people.
Yeah.
He did it to Okada at Wrestle Kingdom. He does it every so often now. And every time he does it, I mark out, Nick. I mark out because it's terrifying.
He loses all sense of self-control and just goes full violence, and I love it.
Yeah. Yes. He just the face drops. He goes blank, and he just starts throwing strikes to the throat and just murdering people. The hits he was throwing on Okada during that match were just sickening. And I am here for it.
Mm-hmm.
Here for it. So he's been in the G1 before. This is his 6th appearance. It's the 4th in a row he's been in. So, and like I said, he won it last year. He was in it against Tanahashi the year before that. So, Nick, if you're picking him this year, and if anyone out there is one that wants to root for somebody, Ibushi's a pretty good option.
Yeah,
I would say.
He's one of my favorites. I'll leave it at that for now.
Yeah. Well, and he's in there with the guy he faced off with at Wrestle Kingdom, Kazuchika Okada, who I think inarguably is considered the greatest wrestler in the world today. And I consider him the greatest wrestler in the world today. He can have a good match with anyone. He can change styles to fit anybody. His selling, his in-ring psychology, his everything is absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
This is the guy that Kenny Omega had the trilogy of matches, well, actually the quadrilogy of matches with, that are considered the greatest of all time. This is the guy. He's been in the G1 9 times in a row. He started the year after the one that I talked about earlier in the show, and he's been dominating ever since. He's won it twice in 2012, 2014. He hasn't needed to win it since then because he's been the champ.
Right.
Like the entire time, the guy has been the champ of New Japan for the last most part of a decade. Longest reign ever, most reigns. Like the guy has all of the. He is Roman Reigns. He is Ric Flair. He's John Cena, all wrapped up in a big, awesome Japanese ball. So, but what's interesting is he's been kind of on like the back foot lately, where he's like, I don't really care. I've been champ. Like, what else is there for me to do?
Right.
He's been kind of bored. They've had him in a feud with Yujiro Takahashi, who we'll talk about in a little bit, and he's been openly saying like this feud is beneath me, which is very Okada to say. He's very cocky, very arrogant. So lots of fun. Also in Block A, Jeff Cobb, our boy, Jeff Cobb.
Back again.
Yes. Hopefully he'll know what event he's at when he's there in Japan.
Right.
But yes, he is back in the G1. He's been doing a lot of stuff for New Japan Strong here in the U.S. He's been over there, I guess, quarantining now for a couple of weeks so that he can be in the G1. I'm glad they're able to bring in some outside people back in the G1, Nick. I was worried about that.
Yeah,
so seeing Jeff Cobb in there is great. So there was a rumor lately, Nick, that he has officially signed with New Japan. Dave Meltzer reported it, said it was pretty much a done deal. Cobb came out online and said, where do these dirt sheet guys get off? They don't know what they're talking about. So he's denying it, but we've yet to hear officially one way or the other.
Deny until it's true.
Right. That's the Edge theory. That's the Chris Jericho theory.
Yeah.
Might be the Jeff Cobb theory.
Maybe.
Or maybe Dave Meltzer doesn't know what he's talking about on this one.
Maybe.
Plans change.
Yeah.
Plans change.
So, yeah, right.
So Jeff Cobb is great. Former Olympian, big dude. Well, he's like shaped like a square, really. He's known for throwing people around. If you watch Lucha
spark
Underground,
plug if there ever was a spark plug. He's like a fire hydrant with legs. Jesus,
he's
that
like
dude is built.
He's 5'10", 5'11" tall, and like 5'10", 5'11" wide.
Right.
He was in Lucha Underground. He was Matanza. He's been all over. He was the guy that came in that was the hired gun that Jericho hired to face Moxley in AEW late last year. So he's been around. I suspect he's here in the G1 this year to eat some pins and just fill space, but just be big, strong guy that can toss people around. They like having those in there. And I think it's a great opportunity for him. He's only been in it twice, this year and last year. So nice to have him back.
Yeah.
Also in Block A, Tomohiro Ishii, the Stone Pitbull, one of my favorite wrestlers in the world, one of the most I don't want to say underappreciated because people love him and he gets a lot of appreciation, but he's mad under the radar for a lot of people. People forget how good he is. The dude is like 5'7", 5'8".
Yeah.
But you can't knock him down.
Speaking of fire hydrants and spark plugs, I mean, good Lord.
Oh my God. I remember seeing him in a match with Keith Lee, I believe for Rev Pro, and he suplexed Keith Lee. Like the dude is a hoss. His match with Moxley last year was one of my favorite matches of the G1.
His traps are so big, his head actually looks like it's attached to his neck.
Oh yeah, no, he doesn't have it. He's a pit bull. He's got no neck.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dog Ziggler. So yeah, no, Ishii's fantastic. I don't think much needs to be said about Ishii other than he was the guy that got me into New Japan.
Is he still the current never open weight champ?
No, he's not. No,
Okay.
Minoru Suzuki is.
Oh, Suzuki. That's right.
But Ishii has been hinting that he wants a piece of Suzuki. And they're going to face off. We've said Minoru Suzuki's name a lot. We say it a lot on this show. Look over my right shoulder here, my left shoulder. I can't tell what it is because it's reversed. But
it's
there,
yeah.
I'm pointing to him, my right shoulder. That's Minoru Suzuki. He is the murder grandpa. He is the scariest man in pro wrestling. He's over 50 years old. I think he's 52 now, and he can still kill each and every one of you without blinking.
If you see him walking towards you with a chair in his hand, run.
No, don't run. Just drop to your knees and accept your fate. You're going to die.
Yeah.
There's no running.
Yeah.
There's no escape. He's we hyperbolize, but he is actually a genuinely scary guy. He's known for being a legit MMA fighter, has been for years. He tapped out Ken Shamrock in his prime in the mid 90s. That's one of his like major accolades. The dude is an absolute machine, and he's still going, and he's still terrifying. He's the guy that comes out. He beats up everybody ringside. He loves pain. He loves suffering, and he is awesome. He is the leader of Suzuki-gun, which is one of the many factions in New Japan. New Japan has a lot of awesome factions. Suzuki-gun is the one that he leads. It's basically a bunch of thugs. Lance Archer was a member of Suzuki-gun when he was in
Zack Sabre Jr.
Correct. So it's no one else I think that's in.
That's it. Now that Lance was there, but yeah.
Well, no one else that's in the G1 that's relevant right now. Okay. But yeah, Minoru Suzuki is going to get in there and beat the crap out of some people. Yeah. And him and Ishii have a long history of beating the crap out of each other. So very much looking forward to Suzuki going against all these guys. Him and Okada have a great history. And there's some people that he's meeting for the first time in this that I'm very psyched about. He's never fought Jeff Cobb, for example, and he's never fought Will Ospreay, who let's talk about next. So Ospreay is a longtime favorite of this show. He's been in some controversy lately because he did some really, really, really bad things that were revisited in the Speaking Out movement. He actually got a woman blacklisted because she accused one of his friends of rape. It's a really ugly story. I suggest going and reading about it before necessarily going and rooting for Will Ospreay. It's something that you need to know about him before you can decide how you want to feel about him. I'm really not happy with him about that, but I can't deny the fact that dude is just one of the best workers in the world. Him and Ricochet actually put what's known as like the flippy shit style on the map when they had a match in the Best of Super Juniors, I think 2016. Yeah. So he's known for being a high-flying flippy guy. But over the last couple of years, he's realized that style is going to kill him, because it almost did in a match against, well, a few people, but especially the last one I think that really scared him was the one against Marty Scurll, where he legit almost broke his neck. And he's been putting on weight since then, beefing up, trying to go heavyweight. He's changed his style, so he's got some more heavyweight moves. His finisher is now like a running, sliding elbow that makes the Judas effect look like a nice caress upside the face. He actually legit knocked out Kota Ibushi in their match this year or last year, Wrestle Kingdom, I'm forgetting. But
it wouldn't have been this year. It would have been last year.
Last year. Last year is when he just KO'd Kota.
He was also the opponent in the match early on, I believe, when Kota twisted his ankle up, and we all got scared because it almost knocked Kota out because Kota came down wrong.
No, I think you're thinking of two different matches. Kota was in the match last year against Kenta, and he twisted his ankle really early.
That's what it was. It was Kenta.
What you're thinking of is the fact that Ospreay led off the G1 last year against Lance Archer in Texas, and Archer won that match, but Ospreay looked like $1 million because he was a junior heavyweight, because there's two divisions in New Japan, heavyweights and junior heavyweights, and it's around 200, 205 pounds is where it crosses over, same as in the U.S. But Lance was in Texas, so everyone was happy that he won. But Ospreay made Lance look like $1 million. Lance made Ospreay look like $1 million. There was a top rope Spanish fly in that match that has to be seen to be believed. But that was Ospreay's first year. This is only his second year. The dude went up and put on about 20, 25 pounds of muscle, maybe even more. He's a hoss now. He's a tank. And we don't know what that means for his style. Is he still going to be able to do the flippy stuff? Is he still going to be able to fly all over the place? Or is he going to come in here and murder some dudes because he's now working a heavyweight style? It really remains to be seen how they treat Ospreay in this G1. Will they legitimize him, or will they say you have a long way to go yet, Ospreay, in the heavyweight division?
I'm hoping you're going to talk about who you're going to talk about next so we can talk about revisiting them.
I am. I'm going to talk about Shingo Takagi.
With him having his size now?
Yes. Because last year, Shingo Takagi and Will Ospreay was my match of the year.
Best of Super Juniors, right?
Best of Super Juniors finals.
Yep.
And that was when they hilariously thought Takagi was a junior as well. Shingo Takagi is also known as the Dragon. He has now come to New Japan, has spent a long time not being in Japan, finally came there, joined up with Los Ingobernables of Japan, which is a faction that is headed up by Tetsuya Naito, who we'll talk about when we get to Block B. But Shingo being in Block A around no other LIJ members is very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
He's basically here to show what he can do in this division and just beat the crap out of people like Ishii, like Minoru Suzuki, like Okada, like Ibushi. Those are all going to be absolutely outstanding matches. Takagi being in here raises the profile of all of this. Now, the other thing about Takagi is he is the recent never open weight champion, meaning him and Minoru Suzuki, who's the current champion, the guy who beat him up and took it from him at the last pay-per-view event, they are now going to revisit that in this block. So that feud is going to continue. So on the night that we have Suzuki versus Takagi, that's going to be a huge match too. In fact, I can't really see any match I'm not looking forward to with Shingo Takagi.
No. I think every single match every single opponent against Shingo Takagi is going to be a baller match.
He's never faced
Yujiro
Okada.
is questionable, but
well, we don't know. He's never faced Yujiro.
That's true.
But he's also never faced Okada or Ibushi. So we're going to get Ibushi Takagi for the first time. And I'm already calling it's going to be a 5-star match. I'm already calling it. But then we get to the other side of things. We have a couple of heels we need to talk about up in here as well. Jay White is making his return. He's been out because he doesn't live in Japan, but he was formerly the leader of the Bullet Club stable. You may have heard Bullet Club before. Bullet Club is, of course, where you got AJ Styles, Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks. They were all members of Bullet Club. Finn Balor was the guy who started Bullet Club. So Adam Cole was Bullet Club. Well, Jay White supposedly was the leader of Bullet Club, but while he was gone, they had to find other things to do with Bullet Club. But he's back. This is him. This is the first time he's returning. But he's in a block here where he only has one other Bullet Club member, and that's Yujiro Takahashi. So are we seeing Jay White starting like a kind of is Bullet Club going to start splitting up under the leadership of Jay White and either Kenta or Evil, who we'll talk about in Block B? Or does Jay White get people running in and helping interfere with him? Because that's what Bullet Club is, an evil stable that does that. They do a lot of run-ins. Or is he going to take this on his own? Because he's got a lot of history with a lot of guys in here. Last year, he was a finalist versus Kota Ibushi and lost to Kota Ibushi, but ended up facing Ibushi again at Night 2 of Wrestle Kingdom. So I think Jay White's got some revenge to get on Ibushi. He's got revenge to get on Okada. So I think there's a lot of stuff that Jay White could do to reestablish himself in this G1.
I think there's a lot of stuff going on with Evil. I think we've seen a freshly shorn Tama Tonga, which is interesting. We always see Jado and Gorillas and Chase Owens sometimes coming down with, and Kenta, of course, coming down with the Bullet Club organization. And I'm wondering, is there with Evil, the changes with Evil and him coming over, and what the hell's going on with Tama? Yeah. Maybe he wants a singles thing. Maybe that's the catalyst that kicks this.
But Tama Tonga he seemed to be distancing himself from the G1. What's more interesting here is that Gato, who is actually the booker of New Japan, but then in kayfabe plays like the big fixer. He was the manager of Kazuchika Okada for a long, long time. Helped him, in kayfabe, helped him get all these title runs and everything. But then he betrayed him. He betrayed Kota Ibushi and joined up with Jay White. And it was one of the big swerves from the last few years was Gato turning heel on Kazuchika Okada and joining Jay White, and then coming out and helping Jay White to a title run and to screw over everybody. But now Gato's coming out with Evil. So who is Gato going to be with? Is he going to be with Evil? Is he going to be with Jay White? Is he going to be with both? Is he going to have two dudes in his stable now? Like, how is this going to work? If Gato's the mastermind here in Bullet Club, how is that going to work? So that's a little bit of tension that may or may not get addressed in this G1, and I'm here for either way. Like, if Jay White's just doing his own thing, cool. But as we mentioned, Yujiro Takahashi, the Tokyo Pimp, who for the longest time has been a perennial undercarder guy. Like, he had a good run, 10 years ago, but he hasn't been doing anything for the longest time. Now all of a sudden they're using him a lot more, partially because they were strapped for bodies during the pandemic. But his inclusion in the G1 is a bit controversial. There was other fan favorites that people were wondering why they weren't included, like Sho, like Hiromu Takahashi. Yujiro's taking a spot. A lot of people are going, well, why is he here? And I think the reason is they need someone to eat pins.
Yep.
And I have a feeling that Yujiro's going to be eating a lot of pins. In fact, if he wins one, I'll be shocked. Looking at who all else is in this.
There's nobody here that I think he's going to beat.
He's going to get very few points, if any. I mean, he's been in the G1 a lot, 7 times, but he hasn't been in it for 5 years, and that says something about where his career's at.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's almost like, Kyle said it there. It's almost like he's there to escort Peter to the ring. So,
I mean, who knows if we'll get Peter?
Maybe. I don't know.
Yujiro's gimmick is being, a pimp, and Peter is his, for lack of a better word, prostitute, his hoe. He's like a Japanese Godfather, but that being said, Peter is better than any of the hoes ever existed for Godfather ever.
Yep.
Probably the most beautiful woman in New Japan.
Speaking of Kyle, he threw 100 bits in and said, Jay White, Evil, and Kenta are the people I have my eyes on for this tournament. Yep. Everything that happened at New Beginnings and Evil at Dominion, that will be the big story thread through the G1. I have a slightly different opinion. I think there might be
we'll get to that
diversion.
Maybe. We'll talk about that in Block B, but finally we have to talk about Taichi, my least favorite wrestler in the world, who is actually just a really good heel worker. He just pisses me off. He's a member of Suzuki-gun. He works for Minoru Suzuki. We were talking about that earlier. He's been in it this year and last year. His career is on the rise. He's one of the current tag champs. But his tag partner's in Block B. We'll talk about him in a second.
What's interesting here? He beat Ibushi in the Cup.
He also just has just beaten Ibushi and Tanahashi multiple times for the tag championships. So they're making him out to be actually a very strong wrestler lately, which is good for his profile. But he's such a sleazeball dickhead.
You just don't like his mask.
I don't like his mask. I don't like his entrance.
His tearaway pants.
His annoying little groupie. His tearaway pants with his Tai Chi bean. I can't call it a Tai Chi dong because it ain't a dong. It's a bean.
Tai Chi
bean. And it's his little sneering fat face. I hate him. I hate him. And the worst part is I know he's going to beat some of my favorite people in this, and it's going to piss me off when he does. He's beaten Shingo before, straight up. That made me so mad.
Yeah. I want to make a mental note here before we move on to Block B that Shingo Takagi is the only member of LIJ in Block A.
Absolutely, yes.
We'll come back to that with a little Nick booking.
Nick will come back to that with the Nick booking. So before we head out of Block A, right off the bat, want to throw out a couple of matchups that you're excited about from Block A?
Yeah.
Like any in-faction matches that we're looking at?
I mean, how can you not ever be excited about another opportunity to see Ibushi and Okada work together? Definitely have eyes on that one. Ospreay Okada, Ospreay Ibushi, Ospreay Takagi. I'm looking at seeing Takagi wrestle all these dudes.
See, here's the problem I have, Nick, is there really isn't a matchup in Block A I'm not excited for, except for Yujiro Taichi. That's the only one that I'm just like, don't care.
I think Taichi might have a couple of surprise matches out of this block.
I don't want to admit that, but I think you're right.
I think there's going to be there's going to be several really good matches, and he's going to pull off a couple of them, and it's going to surprise the out of us. So I'm really curious to see what they do with Jay. I think my biggest curiosities are how do they deal with Jay White? He's not in the same block as either Kenta or Evil. I think that's interesting.
You're setting up your Nick booking already. I can hear it.
I am. It's trust that I should have made a tinfoil hat for this episode.
All I know is that I'm just quick glance. I'm seeing like 5-star matches easily. So Block A is insane. But here's the thing. Just like last year, I feel like Block B is the sleeper block. You've got a whole bunch of people over here that I think not everyone are excited about. But when you look closer, there's a ton of good matchups over here, too. Starting off with the fact that we have the ace of New Japan. The true, like when we threw all those accolades at Kazuchika Okada, the guy that came before him, that was the ace before Okada, was Hiroshi Tanahashi.
You've even said that he saved New Japan.
He did save New Japan. I don't think that's arguable. I think that's a fact. He saved New Japan during their dark era where Inokiism nearly destroyed them. Hiroshi Tanahashi is the guy that brought the popularity back. He is a rock star, but he's getting older now. The injuries are piling up, and he works that way. He still works in the ring better than people who don't have a fifth of his injuries.
Sure.
Like, he's unbelievable what he can still do, but he's obviously a little bit broken down at this point. He has been in 19 G1s, Nick.
In a row.
19 in a row. He's been doing this every year since 2001. 2001. Yeah, that's insane.
Respect.
That's insane. He's won it 3 times in 2007, 2015, and 2018. He won one. He's been a finalist 6 times. 2004, 2007, 2010, 2013, 15, 18. But this is his first time in Block B since 2007. So basically, like, around the time he became the ace, he's been in A block because A stands for ace, according to him. So now he's in Biroshi Tanahashi, a B block. I don't know. But he is the man. But the man has seen better days. So the fact that he's here, I'm wondering if this is the G1 where he starts putting people over, because there's lots of people in this block that need some rub. And I'm wondering if Tanahashi's been on the downswing. Like I said, he's been getting picked apart in the tag division. Is this the one where we see the ace fall?
So you mentioned something a bit ago that I was going to call back attention to as well. We did this, Ian. We did this exact same thing last year where we said, "Oh my God, A block is like super stacked. B block has like Goto and Moxley and Yano and like Naito's over there, but like everybody else is like." Moxley ended up like running the card.
Yeah.
Goto was in like second place at the end of it. What's happening at B blocks? I think we're going to get another thing like the A block is going to be just magnificent to watch the entire tournament. B block is where all the drama is going to happen again.
B block, there's going to be lots and lots of drama. Not with the first 3 people we're talking about, probably not involved in the drama. We'll get into the drama in the second half of B block.
Yeah.
So also in Block B, Juice Robinson, you may have caught him briefly in NXT breaking Kevin Owens' nose, but now he's in New Japan. Whole different character. He's just this wild, wacky.
Or on Twitter dating my ex.
Or on Twitter dating your ex. Yes, I'm sorry, Nick. He is all up on that Tony Storm. I'm sorry, dude. But he's officially back in New Japan. This will be his return in New Japan. He has been the G1 a few times before, about 4 times in a row now. And he's always entertaining. Even though he doesn't always get a ton of points, he always puts on entertaining matches. He's a fantastic babyface, which is going to be helpful in this block because there's some really evil dudes in this block. Not one of them is Hiroki Goto. We've talked about Goto a couple times already in the show, Nick. He's been in it 13 times in a row, the G1. He's only won it once back in 2008. He's been a finalist twice in 2008, 2016. But again, he's never been IWGP Heavyweight Champion. He is the perennial, almost, buddy. He's the Dolph Ziggler of New Japan.
Always the bridesmaid, never the bride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but he's awesome. He puts on great matches. He's got a good look. He's been training. He was training out here with Shibata. I almost said Chiabata, and I had to correct myself to Shibata.
Yeah.
Shibata, who I wonder if he'll show up at all in the G1. I don't know. He's been down here training in the U.S., so he probably won't, but that would be nice to see him show up. But Goto, like we said, he's there just to fill space. I don't see him. If there was ever a year that I'm certain Goto's not going to get to the finals, it's this one.
Yeah. And I said that last year, and I mean, he got to the finals of B block with Moxley, so I mean,
I think that was it. He's not. I don't think he's getting to the finals this year.
Yeah.
But he's always good to watch. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But I think he and Juice are in the same. Him and Juice are going to be in the same bowl this year. They'll be there. They'll be right at the middle of everything. Maybe high middle. That's about as high as they get.
Yeah.
That's probably the same thing's going to happen to the Master Thief Toru Yano, New Japan's token comedy wrestler, who is probably the best comedy wrestler working in the world right now.
Yeah.
Prove me wrong.
Yeah.
But he's been in it 15 times. This is his 14th G1 in a row, more than Goto. Of course, he started off being a serious guy. Now he's just a comedy guy. But the thing about Yano, the reason why he's such a brilliant comedy character, is that he beats people. He was the first. Moxley won everything last year. Moxley was running everything, and then he hit Toru Yano, and Toru Yano stopped him in his tracks. Toru Yano beat Jon Moxley during the time when he was the first guy to hand Moxley a defeat in New Japan. Full stop.
Of all people.
Of all people. But it makes sense if you pay attention to New Japan. If you're just starting off with New Japan, it will, as soon as you watch one of Toru's matches, you'll get it. You'll get it. The dude does everything in his power to not wrestle a straight-up match, and it flusters his opponents so bad that they make a mistake, and he, boom, quick roll-up, 1, 2, 3, you're done.
He got Naito too, right?
He's gotten everybody.
I meant last year in the G1. Same time, yeah.
Yeah. He had like an unbelievable record against Minoru Suzuki. It was to the point where Suzuki would just come out and see Toru Yano, and I would bust up laughing because the look on Suzuki's face was such pure, unadulterated hatred. Like, I can't believe that this idiot is the one who has beaten me so many times in a row. It was gorgeous.
Yeah.
So Toru Yano being in any bracket means you're going to have fun. There's going to be some fun matches. And there's enough like very serious characters in this block that having Yano matches with them is going to be awesome to watch that get broken. So
I can't wait. He's one of my favorites to watch in New Japan. He's a lot of people's favorites.
One of my least favorites to watch in New Japan, however, is Yoshihashi, who I think is just he's just sad. I feel bad. He's the perennial underdog who just never wins.
Yeah.
Even like there's no point in rooting for him. Like, you feel bad because he's out there, he's trying his hardest, but he just can't win. And even like in real life, like what was the one time where he was running out to help Okada and he just fell and just busted his entire face open, and like it was really bad. I shouldn't laugh.
It was as bad, if not worse, than Titus O'Neil running down the ramp and falling
right
under the ring.
after Titus did it. It was right after Titus did it. Like, it was within a month or two of Titus bailing on the way to the ring. Then Yoshihashi does it, and just blood everywhere. And it was really bad. Like, it was what Titus could have been, but wasn't, because Titus is lucky, and Yoshihashi is just the worst luck. Just hangdog this poor son of a bitch. He's here to get his clock cleaned, I think, in Block B.
Right. Somebody has to, because the other half of this block that we have to talk about is stacked.
Yeah. So now we're getting into the drama side of things. Tetsuya Naito, the current reigning, defending Intercontinental and IWGP Heavyweight Champion of New Japan, double champ. Meaning if you beat him, you can challenge him for either belt or both belts, depending on how ambitious you want to be, or what he lets you do. I mean, I think it's one of those things where, because it's never really happened before, the double champ's been in the G1. I think they'll probably do it where you have to challenge him for one of the belts, but up until now, he's been defending both. So not sure what they're going to do with that storyline. But yeah, he's got both belts. He's also been in the G1 a ton. He's been in it for 11 straight years. He's won it twice. 2013, and he beat Kenny Omega in 2017 to win it in an all-time classic match. And then he was also in the finals in 2011.
That was the match that actually hooked me.
Was Naito versus Kenny?
Yeah, we started this show in May of 2017. Ian introduced me to New Japan, told me about a little bit of the backstory of Bullet Club and Finn Balor and things like that, and told me a little bit about the G1. And I watched a lot of it. I didn't watch all of it. But those finals when we got there, and that match with Kenny Omega and Naito, I was absolutely hooked.
Still one of the gnarliest Uranages I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
It was looked like a rock bottom. Like, it was just enormous. So Naito's in it. He's the leader of Los Ingobernables, which has been having a bit of a hard time lately. See, Naito, there's a whole story. I could do a whole show just on Naito. I'm an enormous Naito fan. I'll tell you the whole story of Naito. But briefly, Naito's a really fascinating character. They've done a fantastic job of doing like a decade-long storyline with his character, where he went from being wanting the adulation of the fans and trying to be like a fan favorite to being betrayed by the fans in a vote. The fans voted on what the main event of Wrestle Kingdom was going to be, and they didn't vote for Naito. And he never forgave him for it. Went to Mexico, came back bitter as a member of Los Ingobernables with Rush and La Sombra, who's now known as Andrade in the WWE. Came back from that all bitter and started just not giving a crap. He was tranquilo, right? Didn't give a crap about any of it. Didn't give a crap about the fans. Didn't give a crap about his opponents. Spit in their faces. He would win a belt and he would just trash the belt because I don't care about the belt at all. He finally had a redemption arc. It took him 5 or 6 years, but he had a redemption arc where he came back around. Now he cares about the fans. Now he cares about wrestling. He cares about the championships. He's been redeemed. But along the way, he brought some guys with him. Guys he thought would initially help him screw over other champions, guys who had the same mindset of kind of F everybody, heavies who could stand by him and beat people up. The first guy he ever hired for this position in Los Ingobernables de Japón, first guy he ever hired was a guy who he was a young lion with, a guy named Evil. And Evil was the lieutenant, the top guy of Los Ingobernables for that entire time until, about 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Where Evil betrayed Naito at the worst possible time, took him out, and then took his championships with the help of Bullet Club.
Yeah.
Betrayed him for Bullet Club. And then was champion. Evil was champion until very recently at Dominion, where Naito won the titles back. So Evil is also in Block B with Naito. Evil's got his Bullet Club buddy Kenta in there with him. Now, Kenta's also an evil dude who's betrayed some people. He was also an acolyte of Shibata over here in the U.S., and he betrayed Shibata pretty badly, screwed over everybody, probably had the most heat out of anybody in New Japan after Wrestle Kingdom because he attacked Naito after Wrestle Kingdom. That's never been resolved. And then you've got Evil, who's also in Bullet Club. He's in Block B. So the two of them in Block B at the same time, that's trouble.
Mm-hmm.
That spells trouble. That's sacrifice.
I think Naito might be wanting a little get back from Kenta attacking him at Wrestle Kingdom. He never has gotten his hands back on him, so I am very interested to see the Naito-Kenta match.
Well, and one of Naito's dudes who didn't turn on him, Sonata, is also in Block B. So you've got the two big Los Ingobernables guys and two of the biggest Bullet Club guys in Block B together.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of drama.
That is.
And in a second, when we look down the whole schedule, that's going to, like the way that they've set up the schedule, that drama is going to play out on some of the biggest nights. So that's the thing to look at. Los Ingobernables and Bullet Club facing off, the individual people facing off. That's going to be a big deal. Hard stop. Kenta, you actually might remember as Hideo Itami from, yes, Nick's favorite. Hideo Itami, his tragic run in WWE, he openly says that that's like the worst time of his life now. He's like, I can't believe I was so embarrassed in the U.S. And he's very mad. And he's also got some fantastic quarantine hair. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with Kenta. And finally, in Block B, Zack Sabre Jr., Twisty Man, Windy Man. He's the submission god. You may have also seen him in the Cruiserweight Classic, if you watched that. He's the submission machine. Basically, the entire match with him is just, how is he going to tear you apart?
Right.
And he's pretty much torn everyone in Block B apart at one point or another. So that's good. And including Hiroshi Tanahashi very recently when they were having their tag team championship feud. So Zach is another one of those guys who's a great spoiler. He's not going to win the whole thing, but he's going to spoil some people's opportunities too.
Yes, absolutely.
And he's the only Suzuki-gun in Block B, and they're even though there's a faction named Chaos, Suzuki-gun is chaotic evil. They're the ones that are going to be in there just messing people up. So those are the blocks. Any interesting matches I think there's some fairly obvious interesting matches in Block B, but any off the top of your head you want to point out? Yeah. I mean, any Los Ingobernables and Bullet Club.
Let's also not forget Evil and Sonata were tag team champions at one point. Multiple times. Yeah. Brothers, right? They're in the same block, and now they're in opposing factions.
But the interesting thing is but Sonata is what he truly believes in Tranquilo. Yes. Like the dude is like, oh, Evil betrayed us? Well, that sucks. That was kind of his reaction. He's like, lame.
I'm very interested to see if we get some kind of LIJ Bullet Club thing going on here. If Evil beats, I don't know, let's pick somebody, Naito or Sonata. Evil beats one of them in the B block matches, and then the rest of Bullet Club comes out to do a beatdown.
You're assuming the Bullet Club isn't already out there because Evil has.
That's true.
He's retained the services of Dick Togo. Dick Togo's now his enforcer out there with the Garrett, right? Choking people out with that. You've also got Gato running interference. Like all of Evil's matches have had tons of interference. I have a feeling he's going to piss a ton of people off and have tons of interference throughout his matches here. Kenta is too. Kenta just beat Jeff Cobb because Chase Owens got involved.
Right.
So Bullet Club is all about the interference.
Does Sonata come out for the save?
He finally did to come out and save Naito at Dominion when he was getting beaten down by everyone in Bullet Club. Like they finally had Los Ingobernables come out and help Naito. I don't know if they do it in the G1 though. I don't know if Naito tells them all to hold back. This has got, it is what it is. So yeah, that's the weird thing about Los Ingobernables is while they were a team and they were there to help each other advance, they were also really individualistic guys. Like, unless I ask for your help, don't help me.
Right.
So, yeah. And does Hiromu show up at any point?
I think that's okay. Let's address that elephant in the room right now before we do anything else, because I think that is the number one thing that people have been asking after the events of the last
big time
12 months with Hiromu's
which
return.
I'll really quickly run down. Hiromu Takahashi is an absolutely all-star, world-class junior. Broke his neck at the G1 special in San Francisco about 2 years ago. Came back earlier this year and took the junior heavyweight title off of Will Ospreay. And then just lost it at Dominion just a little bit ago to the Bone Soldier. So he's still very viable. He was in the New Japan Cup earlier, which had a whole bunch of heavyweights, and he stood up to a whole bunch of heavyweights. A lot of people are wondering why he's not in this because he's also a member of Los Ingobernables. He's the little brother, right? He's the kid brother to Naito. He's, I think, the only person that Naito's really shown affection, like open affection for. So him not being in this is interesting. Maybe it's because they don't want to have him lose to all these heavy hitters, and you can't put him in Block B because there's just too much drama already there. But does he show up outside of the matches at any point? That's the real question. Is he in the building?
Now you're coming down with me.
Am I?
Well, maybe not. Maybe not.
Okay.
Having a look at what I've been looking at the last couple of days, knowing we were going to do this episode, of course I digested the blocks when they got released, and I went, all right, but it's always important to look at the schedules as well. And I don't think we need to cover the entire schedule every day, every event, and all of that kind of stuff. But I think it's important to call attention to some key matches being on certain days or certain time frames of the next month. The one I want to start with that's really standing out to me as a big deal is the final night or before the finals. October 17th, B block. Sonata versus Evil.
Yes, the main event. But look at the sub-main event, Naito versus Kenta.
Yeah.
So that's the part of that's I want to get into this is that sometimes we can see where the matches are in terms of importance because Naito versus Evil is dead in the middle of all of this. Right?
Yeah.
But you're right, Nick. The main event of the final night of B block is Sonata versus Evil. Actually, I guess Naito versus Evil is third from the end.
I went back and looked when Sonata was going to face Naito, and it's all the way up on October 1st. It's going to be one of the first few.
Naito versus
nights.
Sonata. Yeah, we'll get that out of the way quick. And that's also the night we have Kenta versus Evil. So faction mates against each other that night.
Yep.
Which is going to be a big
Does one of
deal.
them just lay down for the other one? Just something, right?
I don't believe that Japan will ever do a finger poke of doom scenario.
Okay.
I truly don't believe that.
Okay.
I refuse to believe that.
The guy from... Okay, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think you make a good point that looking at that, but also let's look at, for the A block, the final night of A block is Takagi versus Suzuki in a rematch of their baller strike fest at Dominion. That's the last night of A block. So if we're deciding stuff, we're not only that, on that night we've also got Ishii versus Jay White and Okada versus Ospreay. Oh my God. So looking at that and the fact that they do like to keep the drama for the very end, right? Like by the time we get to the end of the G1, what matches are there are usually going to be matches that it will define who goes to the finals. Does that mean Sonata or Evil are going to the finals? Does that mean that Naito has to keep Kenta out of the finals because he wins by tiebreaker? Takagi versus Suzuki. Could Takagi, who's also LIJ, could we have an all LIJ finals? Takagi versus Evil or Takagi versus Sonata? Because that could happen if that's what they're doing with the final 2 nights of the G1.
Are you ready
This
to
is the
call
kind of
them
drama
yet?
we're talking. Is that what we're doing now? Our predictions?
I mean, I in my head, I'm going A block is so okay. So let's do. What I want to do in my head. I'll spit this out and we can run with it.
Okay.
I see a top 2 in A block and a top 2 in B block, and I'm gonna pick a winner.
Okay, so I'm going to really quickly knock this out because usually in the G1, at the beginning of every show, there's a whole bunch of tag matches to lead everything off.
Sure.
And the tag matches are from the other block. So if it's an A block night, the B block will have some sort of tag match to open the show, and that will define the ongoing storylines and the storylines they're building for the next few shows. Those are really great for that. Those are not happening this year, which sucks. But they are doing what they call a C block, which is C block's always been there. It's always basically been a bunch of the young lions and the jobbers, all getting together, and they're a part of those tag matches, even though they aren't in the G1. This year, all they're doing is taking 3 young lions and having them fight every night in some form or another. Yeah, Yuya Uemura, Gabriel Kidd, and Yota Tsuji, who are all 3 badass dudes.
Where's Dr. Watto at, by the way?
Dr. Watto. Master Watto.
Master Watto, sorry.
I don't know.
I've been watching Doctor Who. Sorry, guys.
Technically he's no longer a young lion, so it would be insulting to him to go face the young lions. I know he still feels like a young lion. He just came back recently, and his gimmick is so bad. It's so bad that Stone Cold's even fallen over as a result.
Good Lord, man.
Sorry, Stone Cold. Stay there. So, okay, so we're having that's a weird way to start off all the nights, but I just wanted to point that out in case anyone's like, why am I seeing the same 3 people fighting?
I know you hate me for this, and I almost hate to admit it on air, but I always skip the tag matches.
That's fine, and you can do that. Everyone has their own way of watching New Japan. Just you get more out of it if you watch them, but you don't have to worry about that this year.
Yeah.
So, Block A, give me your top 3 likely people to win it, and then make a decision which one of those 3.
I can't in my right mind, even though my heart says it, I can't in my right mind say Ibushi's going to win it again.
Okay.
I think he will be in the top 3, though.
Okay.
Alongside Will Ospreay and Shingo Takagi.
Takagi for sure. Ibushi for sure. I think Okada over Ospreay. I don't think this is the year that...
You do this every year.
I know, and usually I'm right.
And last year he did win A block, yeah.
Yeah. But Ospreay, I think Ospreay and Okada have a really awesome history where Ospreay is kind of like the baby brother of Okada.
Mm-hmm.
And Okada just always beats him up and is like, you're getting better. One of these days you'll beat me. The question is this the year that Ospreay beats him? I say yes, and that's why Okada's not in the finals, and we get Takagi or Ibushi.
Here's why I'm saying Takagi. And I think Takagi is going to win A block. I'll go ahead and say that. I think Shingo Takagi is going to win A block.
Okay.
And a lot of that is coming from, if you look at the last 3 nights, this is my sort of, what do we call this? The bracket stuff, whatever we do, the bracketology. Right?
Yeah.
So his final matches for like the last 3 events are Minoru Suzuki, Taichi, and so on October 10th he's got his match with Okada. So he's gonna have all of his big ones done, and then to lead up to the final, it's gonna be Suzuki and Taichi. Could they play spoiler? Possibly. And I think that, so here's what I'm thinking. I think Takagi's going to go on a Moxley-esque kind of run in A block, but at the end, the drama is going to come from the fact that maybe Suzuki and or Taichi get one over on him. and it's going to be really, really close, and you and I are going to be losing our freaking minds about October 11th. Right?
That's for sure.
Right? Because we're just all the booking bracketology shit is. So I think Shingo Takagi is going to win the A block.
You know what? I have to agree. I mean, I've already said my feeling about that. Yeah, I think Okada drops out at the end. Ibushi or Takagi, but I don't see a story with Ibushi is the problem.
Yeah,
I think Ibushi goes into something else, some other story. The story I think still is Los Ingobernables.
Oh, you think he's going to faction up finally?
I mean, unless we turn into an Ibushi Naito storyline, but that's not.
Nah, we've
it's
been
not
there.
exciting.
We've been there for like the last 2 years.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah. I would love to see Ospreay do well. I don't think he's ready to win it yet. I think Takagi absolutely is primed. If you do not maybe not strap him, but if you don't start giving him some big moments, he's going to be doomed to Hiroki Goto territory. Unfortunately, even though they do look alike. I want to see him get some signature things like.
So okay, then this makes it tough then. So who wins Block B to face?
This
Takagi
is where we
in
get
the finals?
fun.
All right. You're going for Los Ingobernables final as well, aren't you?
Yes. I think Sonata is going to win B block.
You think Sonata finally?
Yeah.
Redeem himself.
I think after the match that he had with Okada in the G1 last year, he felt like he was right there.
Yeah.
It was just that one extra little thing. Plus, he was in A block with Okada and Ospreay.
And he's a guy, you just mentioned Goto. Sonata's a guy who's like that, where you got to pull the trigger on him at some point, or he's going to be perennial. He's going to be another Dolph Ziggler, top of the mid card, always kind of there, but just, never really does anything. But he's just too good. And he's so popular in Japan. They love him. They love them some Sonata.
Yeah, I think he beats Evil in the final night. And I also see Naito Kenta on that card. And I think there's going to be some kind of LIJ versus Bullet Club thing that finally comes to a head on the final night as we go into the finals the next night. And it's going to be brewing. It's going to be building. Somebody's going to turn on somebody, and it's going to be Bullet Club and Jay White and Evil and Kenta and Gato.
Also, just to clarify in the chat, Evil beat Naito at the finals of the New Japan Cup. Naito got it back at Dominion, I believe, is how it went down.
What were they saying?
They're saying that Evil beat
it's
Naito
Dominion.
at Dominion.
Yeah.
Dominion is the one where Evil won it back in the baseball stadium. No, but it was in Osaka, Joe.
No.
I'm confused.
It does.
2020 is a crazy year. At any rate, no, they're right. Dominion was where Evil beat him. Oh, man. That's just been too much. My brain's fried. Bottom line is Naito won it back from Evil after a very short period of time. So here we are, staring down possibly Sonata versus Shingo. That would be the best story. Evil versus Shingo would also be really good. Those seem to be the best possible options. Now, what happens if Naito wins Block B, goes and faces Shingo or Ibushi, and wins the whole thing? He gets to choose who he faces at Wrestle Kingdom. Does he then make it up to the fans by choosing?
We just did that last year.
Hiromu Takahashi.
Oh. No.
Okay.
It's too cheesy.
It's
and we just did that shit last year with Okada.
So it is a little cheesy.
Yeah, I'm until I see the first few nights, my head is all in on sort of Shingo from his amazing run he's had since Super Juniors last year, and
thank you, chat. Summer Struggle. Thank you. Okay, yeah, Evil did win at Dominion, then Naito won it back at Summer Struggle.
Right.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah, and Sonata with that match with. I mean, I'm looking at that last night, man. I can't look away from the October 17th card. That's what's going on for me right there, and it's Sonata and Evil and Naito and Kenta. I'm looking at that going. That's the story. That's sort of
that's the meat.
That's the pimple that's going to pop on that night.
Ew. No, come on, man. It's a horrible Horrible way to think about that.
But it's going to fester throughout the tournament.
All I know is that's our G1. That's our G1 preview right now. I mean, it's G1, and then it's usually there's 2 title defenses between G1 and Wrestle Kingdom. This year there's only one. Power Struggle. The road to Power Struggle begins 5 days after the G1 ends on October 23rd. The road to Power Struggle, and Power Struggle itself is going to be the final major pay-per-view on November 7th. Then you have the Tag League after that, and that's it till Wrestle Kingdom. So likely, only one person is going to beat Naito, or they have something else in mind for that one pay-per-view. Only one title defense after that. So that'll be interesting.
I think Evil's going to beat Naito in the tournament.
But if you are interested in the G1, it does start tomorrow night in the U.S., Saturday night in Japan. And it opens up with Okada versus Ibushi, Takagi versus White, Ishii versus Minoru Suzuki. I mean, that's an enormous. Once again,
that was the only thing I had looked at before we did our show Tuesday when that first night card was announced. Yeah. And as we were saying at the beginning of the show, guys, the G1 is a great gateway entry into New Japan. If you watch nothing else, pay $8 for New Japan World for 1 month and watch that first night.
The first 2 nights, actually. The first 2 nights are absolutely baller. You've got and on the undercard, you've got Cobb versus Taichi and Will Ospreay, who's really good at pulling the curtain in G1s, as we saw last year.
Oh, yeah.
Facing up with Yujiro Takahashi in what I feel is going to be somewhat of a squash. Because I feel like Ospreay's going to come back. They're going to treat him like a hoss.
It'll be Ospreay debut.
And he's going to murder Yujiro Takahashi. Yeah. I hope that's what it is.
Yeah.
But then the next night, Block B has its first night. And that starts off with Tanahashi versus Naito, which is another legendary match. Last year we had Tanahashi versus Okada open up. This one, the second night, Tanahashi versus Naito. Zack Sabre Jr. versus Evil. Goto versus Kenta, which is going to just be they're going to beat the crap out of each other. Strike fest. Toru Yano versus Sonata, and Juice Robinson versus Yoshihashi. So at least we'll have a little bit of fun that night. But yeah, just a madness first weekend. Great way to start it off. We'll post the schedule's up on New Japan, or you can go to Wrestling Observer. They have the schedule up over there as well. We can also, Nick, you've got the calendar. So you can see when all of the events are, and it has the actual matches on it. So if there's someone that you heard us talk about, or that you do know, if you know about New Japan, you can see where all those matches are, and check it all out.
Well, that's a good point. I'll take the note here, and I'll drop each of the cards for each of the nights into the description on the calendar event.
So did we ever say who's winning the whole thing? Are we saying Shingo's winning the whole thing and facing Naito at Wrestle Kingdom, or or Evil versus Naito again, or Jay White resurges? What do you think's happening? What's the final call here?
I think Shingo's going to win it.
Really?
I want Sonata to win.
I want Sonata to win as well.
I don't think he's going to.
Do you want to know something crazy right now? Betting odds have Sonata winning this right now.
Oh.
Yeah. Now, it's wrestling betting odds, so they're usually always wrong.
Oh, it's the G1, too. None of this shit works out.
No.
We're going to come back a month from now and do a recap of what happened in the G1, and we're going to laugh at ourselves because we're completely wrong. None of this is going to happen.
But they also could really take a left turn this year. They're not going to sell out the Tokyo Dome. They can't. They can only do 1/3 of the Tokyo Dome this year. So this might be a year where they just say, screw it. We're going to take a hard left and, try to raise somebody else up that we would not. They'd already did it with Evil. They were able to sneak Evil in there, make him a big deal. They could sneak Sonata in and make him a big deal right now. You could sneak in Shingo, make him a big deal right now. There's lots of options they could go that wouldn't necessarily be the most likely option. So this could actually end up being a very exciting one.
I agree. I think Sonata's story throughout the tournament is going to be having Naito's back, because I think Bullet Club's going to try and beat him down every opportunity they get. Bullet Club's always disruptive.
Yeah, I think the first half will be Naito getting beaten down. The second half, he's like, okay, guys, help me out here.
And I'm also looking at some of the early matches for Sonata. I think he's going to go into an early deficit. He's got Yano. He's got, let me look back through here real quick. He's got Toru Yano the first night. He's got, was it Yoshihashi? No. Goto. I think so he could potentially go down to Yano and Goto and then just go on a run. And I think that's going to lead to ultimately Evil versus Sonata, which this
Sonata's one of those guys that typically has Yano's number, though. Like, he just doesn't put up with his BS.
Yeah, that's a good point, too.
So, and then I could see him beating Goto, too. In fact, I'm actually looking at his first few matches. I'm actually seeing Sonata going on a major run until he hits Naito on the first. I'm seeing him win all those first matches till he hits Naito. And then after Naito, he's got Zack Sabre Jr., and then he's got Kenta. So he's got a really tough second half.
But I think there's going to be something that charges him up, and I'm wondering if that's the Bullet Club boys beating his brother Naito down.
I wonder.
I for some reason, because it ends with Evil Sonata, I read into that a little bit too much, probably. That
I see Sonata winning at first, losing for the second half until he hits Tanahashi, beating Tanahashi.
Oh, yeah. That'd be a good milestone.
And then going into the end, tied with Evil for that final night where it's Sonata versus Evil. That's what I'm seeing in the schedule here. So that would be a great story.
Oh, it would.
Well, like, because you can start, Sonata starts strong, he starts losing, and you lose faith in Sonata, and Evil starts resurging. I don't know. It's going to be a fantastic G1. We've spent an hour and 20 minutes talking about it. You spent an hour and 20 minutes listening to us talk about it. Thank you for that. Thank you, everyone in the chat, also for keeping my head on straight, because there's a lot of information we're processing here, and you guys totally saved my ass there. Thank you to all you guys who are listening, because if you're listening, it means you're a patron. Yeah. If you're a patron, then you're phenomenal, because you are helping us keep this show on the rails, and you're helping keep my lights on as well right now. So thank you very much for that, guys. Thank you for tuning into this and checking this out. And we hope that if you do check out the G1, let us know what you think about it. If it's your first time, hope you enjoy it. Hope you get addicted to New Japan the way that we are. If it's your 20th time, if it's your 30th time, hope you enjoy it as well, because it'll probably going to be a banging year. We're going to be enjoying it too. And no matter what, we'll be talking about the results on our regular weekly shows as it goes on as well.
Yeah. Also, get into the Discord, because we've got a dedicated channel that's going to run throughout the entire tournament for every single night. So make sure you get in there. You can chat with other people. It's going to be late here in the U.S., but
quick thought: let's have a live Discord channel chat, and then a English when the English stuff gets up. Let's have an English commentary one as well. Let's have two separate ones. So the English commentary one could be no spoilers until they watch it.
Okay.
So
sure.
Just thinking live on the show. That's how we do it here, I guess.
Or maybe just don't go look in the Discord until you actually watch it. That's what I have to do every week when I don't watch the show.
Scroll all the way back and find when the show begins. Come on.
Okay, sure.
We'll figure it out.
I'll put up an extra channel that one has English in the brackets for you guys.
There you go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Done.
So
make sure you get into the Discord. Come find us on Facebook. Follow us over on Twitter and Instagram at BWO Podcast. You guys know all this stuff. You're patrons. You're our ride or die OGs. We love you guys for it. Also, some quick milestones for you guys, for us to keep an eye on for the calendar. This Saturday will be our last Saturday show, because we're moving it to Friday, starting next Friday the 25th, immediately after SmackDown. And if you're listening to this if you're listening to this, you're a patron. But we will be making the cut over to the $5 tier for audio episodes, if you're listening to that, starting October 1st. So just giving you guys a heads up of these changes that are going to be happening over the course of the next few weeks.
We will still have them on YouTube, though, if you want if you want to tell other people about the show and let them listen to the free version of the show, it will still be on YouTube, so you can do that.
No.
No? Okay. I'm mistaken then. Don't do that.
They'll be here on
tier,
Twitch.
Audio. There you go.
VODs.
That's what I mean. There you go. That's what I meant to say.
There we go. Just like on YouTube and watching videos over there, you can come and watch them over here on Twitch. This is just a consolidation effort, so we're not spreading everything so thin.
That's what I meant to say.
That's what he meant to say was Twitch,
that's
not
what I
YouTube.
meant to say was Twitch. Yes.
Right.
Summer struggle, Twitch.
Dominion.
Dominion. Evil versus Naito. Cats and dogs living together.
Thank you guys for hanging out in the chat tonight. For those of you that did catch it, hopefully if you're not a patron already, this is a good teaser for you. We'll see you guys next month for the recap of what goes down over the course of the next few weeks over in New Japan. But my name is Nick Howell. You can find me on Twitter at DataCenterDude.
And I am Sir Ian Dangerous. You can find me on Twitter at Sir Ian Dangerous.
But by God!
Would somebody stop the damn match?
This show is part of the Orbital Jigsaw Network. For more episodes, subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher Radio.
For details and show notes from each episode, check us out, orbitaljigsaw.com.